welcoming all of you to the inauguration ceremony of the 5th International Conference on Advances in Electrical Engineering ICAEE 2019. Electrical engineering is the driving force behind the recent technological developments. The International Conference on Advances in Electrical Engineering ICAEE aims to bring together academicians, scientists, engineers, researchers, and students to share their experiences on the latest research, current practices, and future trends in the field of electrical engineering and related areas. And also it aims to discuss the
last many years, and we can only imagine what would happen 5 years from now. And all these branches of engineering will be merging into each other to make these changes. Therefore, we have these conferences, what to do, how things are moving, and what things to expect in the next, in how things would change. We would be looking into aspects which we did not think 10 years ago. Biomedical engineering. It was a very minor subject in any field of engineering, yet this is a very major subject now. Computer vision, very minor subject 10 years ago, it's a major subject now. Social aspects of engineering, as I was mentioning. So these things we've...
This conference, Matin Chaudhary, Chairman Board of Trustees, Patron, Professor Miran Pagan, Vice Chancellor Acting, Independent University Bangladesh, other delegates on the podium, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning and welcome you all to the 5th International Conference on Advances in Electrical Engineering 2019. So I'm here actually to let you know the theme of the conference and to illustrate this. We actually started this conference back in 2011 with the very papers have submitted to ICAEE 2019 were peer reviewed by up to 4 reviewers with experienced professionals from 11 countries around the globe. So before the final acceptance decisions were made. So after a rigorous double-blind review process, 31%, which reflects a very rigorous review and selection process. And this 171 paper summarizes 554 researchers from 94 universities, institutions, organizations, and 15 countries, so thus providing the true international flavor to the conference. I'd like to thank
respected chief guest and other delegates in the dais, and most importantly, the contributors of this conference. That means the faculty members, the students. A very good morning, and it's a great pleasure that IEEE Bangladesh section is serving as the technical co-sponsor of this conference, happening for the 5th times. You know, it's very important. The acknowledgement system of this country is very important. It's not for this country, it's for everywhere. So if it were not IEEE technical co-sponsor, we could not get so many. To our valued authors, to our valued members, that IEEE Bangladesh section is not only an approval authority, it is an integral part of the conference. So technical co-sponsor is substantial and active involvement of Bangladesh section in each process. I'm very grateful that our...
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, Assalamu alaikum, Namaskar, Shubho Shokal, and a very good morning. You can see all of us on dais were given all these fancy titles. I don't want anybody to be left out, so I hereby declare all of you participants of honor, okay? So all of you are now honored. Professor Anwar took us 5 years back in his speech, what was happening 5 years ago. I want to take you back even further. When I was growing up in Europe, on our road, there was one TV, black and white TV with 2 programs. A little bit later,
Professor Saifur Rahman and all the other foreign and local delegates and participants who put their efforts into this conference, thank you very much and welcome to this. When I came in this morning, I was not really aware of what was behind. And then when I was looking through this, I looked at a lot of local and international people being involved in organizing and presenting papers on multiple topics of various things in science and technology. So, and the committees and the names that are there shows that a lot of people have put in a lot of work behind this to make it a success. And as the Vice Chancellor says, the success is in how do we network and how do we move forward. We all have different objectives and different requirements in life. I go a little bit beyond that because I'm very selfish, because when I give my time and resources, I want something.
One is networking. So this is a conference being held at IUB 5th time, which is impressive. Why is it important? You saw papers submitted 550, accepted 171. All those papers that have been accepted will go to IEEE Explore. That's our database of all the IEEE published papers, conferences, and journals. We, every year, add over 100,000 such papers in Explore database every year, 100,000. Today, the number is total 2.5 million. Most impressive, every month, they download 1 million articles, every month. Every month. So this is a very big library. Those who have published in this conference feel good. You're a company of a huge database globally. I work with I
Received the crest from Mr. A. Motin Chaudhary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
One. Please, camera look. Please, camera.
From you.
Where is it?
Thank you.
Camera look.
Sir, একটু ক্যামেরা দেখেন স্যার হ্যাঁ
Please supporting this.
I would like to tell that both of Sir Rahman is received his crest from Mr. A. Motin Chaudhary.
It is an honor to have you here.
no, that's fine. I mean, regular.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Reorganizing chair of ICAW 2019 to come up on the podium for the
একটু এখানে তাকাবেন হ্যাঁ এই ক্যামেরা একটু তাকাবেন হ্যাঁ থ্যাংক ইউ
You are the one focused, not this side.
Thank you, sir. Department of Academic Officer, Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, India.
Good to see you.
Participants, students, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural ceremony of the 5th International Conference on Advances in Electrical Engineering 2019. Let me now give my vote of thanks to the people and organization without whom it would be impossible to make this event a success. First of all, I'd like to thank Independent University Bangladesh, the School of Engineering and Computer Science, and the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering for hosting ICA.
platform for sensor integration in smart buildings. This session will be conducted by the session chair, Professor Muhammad Abdul Muttalib. Now, I would like to call upon stage Professor Muhammad Abdul Muttalib to initiate the keynote session.
This conference, 2019 fifth International Conference on Advances and in Electrical Engineering, is a fifth one. So just after the excellent inauguration session, we'll have the key session of this conference is basically the keynote speech just after the inauguration. As we are actually lagging behind, so I'll not...
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your patience to come here. This is something very technical, which is what I work in, and I'll share my experience with you as we go forward. The reason I show this slide, this is the building I work at Virginia Tech, and Shukla was there for some time. I show this because the reason is at the bottom, grant from US Department of Energy 4 years ago now to build a low-cost software platform which can use available commercial sensors to control building temperature, ventilation over time. So point is not that difficult, it can be easily done, but
then in some of the hotels it does. So that's one question. And the other question would be that
let them change it, the software will protect it. That means if a band of 21 to 24. Go below 21, it'll show 19, but it goes back to 20. For any example that you see here, like thermostat, you have to have one to begin with. That was mechanical. That's another big problem. A lighting case, the example I showed you, it's very sensitive. If I put a new sensor, it takes more energy than before, then I'm defeating the purpose. Yes. My point is two things. One is something that makes 19%. I work on energy and environmental impact. So I have that in my head always. Thank you.
It's a loss of energy. So I'm not sure about it. Like you have proposed one system which will be off or starting.
That use the energy during off-peak hours, and by that you save the money. But years back that slogan was save energy and save money.
The overall monthly data, without the control, you have some X number of energy kilowatt hour. With this system, you use X minus some number.
Organizers to give chance to come over here. Thank you so much.
We are about to the end of our keynote session. The next session is the panel discussion regarding the energy challenges of Bangladesh in the 21st century. The panel discussion is going to be conducted right here. I hope we had a very fascinating time until now listening to our remarkable speaker of this session on stage and deliver the token of appreciation to Professor Muhammad Abdul Muttalib, sir. Please come on.
Thank you.
Rahman to initiate the panel discussion session.
So anyway, so this is interesting session. You have very different disciplines represented here, from energy, power, manufacturer, and so on and so forth. So I would have asked each of the panelists to make maybe 3-4 minute presentation of their vision of this topic, where they're coming from, what should be done, to motivate you to ask questions. That is the more important part for this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akhtar Kalam. I'm from Victoria University in Melbourne, Australia. Just to mention to you that in Australia, at the moment, there's a lot of hot discussions going on in this topic.
Let me just pick it up from there and just say one thing, and then I'll come back to what I wanted to say. And so what Greta is doing, if you see my training in economics tells us that always all economic activity decisions had so far been for not more than 15 years, 20 years, like that. So now any economic activity
I'm from the private sector, and most likely I'm the weakest panelist here. I'm really privileged to stand by the academics and researchers. And thank you, IUB, for inviting me. I was hearing distinguished panelists, and I think IUB organizers told me almost 12 factories. But even adjacent to Dhaka, some areas, the factories are experiencing 4 or 5 times power cut. Normally domestic users, especially in Dhaka and Chittagong and other bigger cities, the power quality or the availability of power has improved, but the factories got a lot to do on this. And I was just on the way.
Is very important. In fact, we should start from ITI. I don't know what is the equivalent of ITI. That is the first program where you get 1.5 years, like carpentry. Because who is going to repair your solar cookers, solar lanterns? Then we also need polytechnic education. Of course, BTech and MTech and PhD are there. And let us make energy and environment. Environment is very important. We do talk of environment, Rio conference, Tokyo conference, Paris conference, but it has to be translated into practice. That is very important. Second thing is, we used to run.
As a guardian, as a parent, we have to consider those according to our clothes. Similarly, so definitely they will lead the nation future, and we have to take their failings into cognizance, considering the reality of the fact. The very topic is the energy challenges of Bangladesh.
Kejriwal, and the Kejriwal theory, and he's an economist too. Kejriwal has really resolved Delhi's issue. And to give you comparison, in Bangladesh...
The challenge is we don't have any solar, or for that matter wind, or hydro opportunities. That's a big constraint for Bangladesh. Though our SDG demands 10% of renewable is pretty less. It could be 4% or something like that. Yeah, or less than that. So that's one challenge. But on the other, right now, almost 50% power generation generated by the private IPPs. Power is a very successful public-private partnership model in Bangladesh. And if we can follow that model for other infrastructures, I think a lot of problems will be solved. Now we need to replicate that model maybe for transmission and distribution. So for you, the students, and grade our position from accessibility of power to the quality of power, and that's the way empower people, that's the way we educate people, that's the way we have a broader consciousness on the climate change, on the power consumption, and we help ourselves and help the country and help the world. So I request that let our panelists, the distinguished panelists, if they have something to talk about ourselves, especially for Bangladesh, and
have seen from both sides.
Let me just speak from Professor Jasri's remark. She has rightly pointed out that these billions of dollars in the hydrocarbon investment will not diminish over just a few years of this sentiment. Having said that, she has in fact proposed 2 issues. One is geothermal. Just let me inform you.
They're different down their business, but suddenly they're emerging into renewable energy business. And so far I know that Energy Pack is doing very good business in the last couple of days. So why not Energy Pack is emerging into renewable energy business? Thank you.
We used to sell solar homes.
Okay.
Other panel members have already been handed over the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
The multipurpose hall across the auditorium for lunch.